What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well. Now in today's video, I've got some more fantastic malicious compliance stories for you, starting off with this absolute cracker. When a schoolgirl is told that she is not allowed to wear a normal dress to school because it goes against the school dress code policy, it's a little bit too short, whatever, she doesn't really take no for an answer, instead choosing to wear her golf uniform, which is even shorter than the dress, but, you know, the school allows it. Let's see what happens. The cheerleaders can break dress code because they're school uniforms? Guess I'm wearing mine. Way back in 2013, I was a sophomore in high school, and there was a tradition that on Fridays, the cheerleaders, football players, without their pads of course, band members, and the other groups performing wore their uniforms to class. This wasn't a written tradition, and only the cheerleaders and dance teams' uniforms broke dress code. Nobody really batted an eye to it. I wasn't a skirt person, but I like dresses once in a while. As one can tell by my username, TexasFordTough, I grew up in Texas, and it's still significantly hot in August and September. So one time, while wearing a casual sundress in September, I was pulled out of class and reprimanded because the end of my dress was 4 inches above the knee, when the dress code said no shorter than 2. I pointed out the cheerleaders and dance teams' uniforms every Friday and how they reached mid-thigh at their longest, but I was still told that was okay because students can wear official school uniforms, and I was sent home to change. Clearly, somehow, someone had forgotten I was on the school golf team. Immediately, my mind was turning to next Friday. The school had recently upgraded the golf team uniforms the year prior, and the girls' team uniforms consisted of a short-sleeve collared polo shirt and a skirt. If you don't know what a skirt is, it's essentially a skirt and short shorts combined. It looks like a skirt, but they essentially act like built-in bike shorts. And these guys were short. I'd argue shorter than the average cheerleader skirts. So that next Friday, about 3 days later, to my parents' surprise, I was ready to go in that morning in just my golf uniform, in comparison to taking a big bag to keep the clothes in to change into after school. But I just said, Fridays we can wear our uniforms to class, and they accepted without question and took me to school. Well, by second period, I was sent to the office yet again, and the first thing the assistant principal asked me was why I would deliberately disobey me right after our last conversation, and she threatened a school suspension. I'll never get anywhere in life by not listening, yada yada yada. When I finally had a chance to get a word in, I said, "But this is my school golf uniform," and I pointed to our school's logo that was sewn into my polo shirts. "You said students can wear official school uniforms to class. Why are the cheerleader uniforms okay and mine isn't? This isn't even a skirt. It's a skirt. It has pants." I still remember how annoyed she was. She stared me down for what seemed like a millennia. Then she snapped and told me to get out of her office and go and sit in the lobby area. That I knew what she meant and she would be calling my parents about this blatant disrespect. So I waited and played on my iPod and chatted with the nice secretary, trying to keep myself distracted. Because in reality, I've been really trying not to cry. I had massive anxiety when it came to authority, but I still had my naive sense of injustice, and I just didn't want to let this go. After about 20 minutes, she popped her head out and in a very monotone voice told me I could go back to class and to let teachers know I'd gotten permission from the front office to wear my uniform. Then she went back in, closed the door before I could even think of responding. I spent the rest of the day dealing with teachers questioning me about my outfit, and one or two calling the front office again to double check my claim that I had in fact got permission. And I went to practice after school as normal before being carpooled back home. My dad met me at the front door with a small smirk, and I asked him what in the world happened, because I knew he was the go-to contact from my school, so I knew that he'd gotten a call. He explained that when the assistant principal called and tried to get him to come to the school and get me, and talked about punishments for my insubordination, he immediately began to argue with her, and admitted he raised his voice quite a bit, asking why I wasn't allowed to wear my sport uniform that the school provided me as dress requirement at my golf practice, and mentioned taking this all the way to the school board and resolving this obvious favoritism. He then asked me not to do it again, but that he was proud of me, and told me, "I know I had told you never to start a fight, but to always fight back. Now, I'd always thought that physically, but you dang sure took the advice." Well, yeah, personally, I think OP was well within her rights there to say, you know what, this is school sports uniform. If you have this policy in place that lets other, sports teams in the school wear their uniform during the day on Friday, then I could do the same. This is golf. Golf's a great sport. I actually played it yesterday. It was a lot of fun. To be fair, thinking back to my time at school, I don't think we were ever allowed to wear uniform in the lesson. I think we just had to have it and get changed, even if we had to rush off to a football match or anything like that. I think that was probably for this reason. They didn't want people obviously not wearing school uniform. And to be fair, allowing kids to wear their sports uni for an entire day, 1 out of 5 days at school, seems like a pretty bad idea anyway. Maybe this though was the tipping point, and from now on the principal will be like, yeah, probably not the best idea. Going against the school dress code, having really short shorts on girls, short skirts on girls anyway, probably not the best idea, and clearly OP has found a great way to circumvent it and call out this injustice. So yeah, they'll probably get rid of the rule, but OP, he did a great thing. All right, now moving on to our second story of malicious compliance. Just analyze the buckets? No problem. For some background, in August last year, 2020, I successfully handed in the last piece of work, a CFD simulation study that cemented my master's degree in advanced mechanical engineering and aerospace with a first-class distinction. I'm very familiar with fracture mechanics. This all sounds very complicated. Now, important facts to draw from this are: 1. There is a worldwide pandemic on, and being quarantined leads to no shortage of boredom. 2. I've just proved my competence as an engineer with a focused specialization towards computer simulation models. And 3. Engineers, when bored, are dangerously sassy. So, the story. As a recent graduate, while the world is closed off, getting an entry-level position is somewhat of a challenge, with companies struggling to stay afloat in these troublesome times. And the landlord still comes chomping at the bit for his rent money. I now currently work for a company run by a colourful megalomaniac, which is a jungly name specialised in warehouse-based online commerce. No names will be mentioned, I'm sure we can all work that one out. I'm vastly overqualified for my position, but needs must. I'm currently in the department that deals with quality. One of my main responsibilities now is going around the warehouse inspecting items for defects, issues with returns, repeated problems, and frequently damaged items, and passing judgment before auditing them, fixing problems as I go, and raising tickets as necessary. It's not a bad job to be doing. One of the things I raise tickets for is preparation of items, which happens if an item is fragile or regularly broken and needs additional protection. It's up to me whether it's worthwhile sending things for prep. When I was given my training for this role, my mentor warned me about someone whose login literally appears a synonym of battlegrounds, and to expect their messages on the in-house messaging system to be equally as dramatic sounding. They are one of the individuals who reads my tickets and audits and sets the follow-ups in motion, but they don't necessarily see all the info I see. They also work the opposite shift to me, so there's no overlap, and the only time communication gets through is at the start and end of each shift as we see messages left. A few nights ago, my computer on wheels told me to check a bucket of detergent for damages. I was sent to a few locations and judged the product to be unpreppable, i.e. it's a container made of brittle plastic that has a hazmat item inside and 5 kilograms of product inside that. The reason it was deemed so is our standard test to see if an item will need prep is to drop it from 3 foot high. If you damage that unit, all others should get prepped. This item would definitely break on impact, and even with bubble wrap, it will need many layers to stop that happening. As a result, the cost benefit of wrapping up the 1,500 of these items in inventory doesn't add up, especially as it would take multiple back-to-back shifts to fix this in-house for just this one item. Now, Mr. Battleground left me a message stating that if I believe the item will break, it must be analysed and they believe the items must be prepped, although they aren't aware of how many there are in stock. Now, Battleground actually is the same level as me in the hierarchy and has no actual power to direct me as they wish. And I protest that there is no way I'm going to start dropping 5 kilogram buckets of hazmat on the floor. Then, the message is waiting for me at the start of my next shift to do your job and just analyse the bucket, which was actually all in caps. Okie dokie, malicious compliance time. I got home the morning after, having not been sent to look at any of those items that night. And in an effort to satisfy the request, I began designing the bucket in CAD. I knew the dimensions, I knew the material, and I had the software licenses to create a detailed impact simulation. I discovered that in order to absorb enough impact to not break the bucket, I would need 6 layers of cushioning at least for 3-foot drops. Now the highest this item is stored is 24 foot up in the air on pallets. Naturally, I proceeded to continue my investigation, and by the time my next shift rolled around 3 nights later, I had an 8-page technical report on my structural analysis of the bucket with a rough cost-benefit analysis included, and a feasibility assessment. I raised the ticket for a damage issue CCing Battlegrounds in for all updates, attached my report, and listed it publicly in the building. The next shift, I was simply met with a ticket resolved notification. So I guess you could say, OP, that's off your bucket list now? No? Okay. I was just trying to be funny. Leave me alone. To be honest with you guys, I didn't really understand much of what was going on in that story. Bit too technical for me and my tiny brain, but I'm pretty sure the basics were, if I just dumb it down, someone who had the same level of work or was the same, level of employment in the managerial hierarchy triangle as OP was pretty much telling her what to do. And they didn't need to do that. It wasn't necessary. And OP pretty much with her higher level of intelligence, better qualification, and just better understanding of the world we live in, said, you know what, if I do this, it just won't work. It won't be beneficial to the company, the jungle company, Amazon, I presume. And it will just cost us a lot of money. So I'm not going to do that. This is why I'm not going to do that. You're not my boss. Take the L. And the other guy pretty much did by saying, you know what, ticket resolved. We'll leave that. Move on. I don't want to mess with that anymore, really. That's my kind of general understanding of the story. Now, there's a chance I've completely misunderstood it because I'm a very dumb boy. So let me know if I have done. Comment down below. I'll see you there. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want more malicious compliance straight away, bang. See that? A rapid playlist has just emerged with all my malicious compliance videos on it. Look at it. It's so lovely. And it's right there on your screen. You must click it immediately, for it is so appealing. Click it. Click it. All right, bye.